Yo, guys, welcome back to the 6ixpence podcast. Today we have a big one today. A very special guest, a very passionate and opinionated Arsenal fan. Man like Big Kenny. Big Kenny in the building. Welcome, Kenny, to the 6ixpence podcast.
Hey! Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah.
I just want to say hello to everyone in South Africa as well.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like in England. England, we in terms of COVID-19, we don't know whether we're coming or going in terms of like whether we're going to have. We're just about getting kids to go back to school, but people work from home, and the sports stadiums are still closed, but we're still having sporting events. So it's a very precarious situation. We're still waiting for a vaccine down here in England.
Yeah, and funny enough, as you said, sporting events. I saw Arsenal are now letting a select few group of fans into the stadium for the first game against Sheffield. So gonna have to see how that goes as well.
Fingers crossed, guys, because what's happening is that you got in England at the moment. We have a few parts of the country that are in local lockdowns. Obviously, I know you probably heard about Glasgow in Scotland, but we still got people in lockdowns in places like in the Manchester area, Lancashire, and parts of West Yorkshire, and Birmingham's recently been locked down. Previously, Leicester was locked down. Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's very dependent on whether you can, like I said, get these local areas out of lockdown, so you can actually allow fans to come into the stadiums on an experimental basis. But personally, I had my email from the Arsenal, but I still think it's probably a bit premature if these places are still in lockdown.
100%. For sure.
Yeah, no.
Kenny, how are they going to work about who goes back? Like, how do they decide who's going to go back?
Which stadium? Yeah.
Well, I just had my email from Arsenal. What's happened, right, is that they've contacted season ticket holders, and they basically said where you've got to put a kind of a deposit on. Some season ticket holders like myself who were offered a credit, their money back, but some like myself decided to leave with the club. So that is kind of your deposit, where you're invited to allow yourself to go into the ballot for tickets, and then after that, you if you're successful, you'll go in the ballot, and they give you a block of tickets. Like I think they give you a block of tickets between 3 and 6. Yeah. And then that's your allocation for that block. You pay for that allocation. I suppose you've got to apply for another ballot. But I think that's how they're going to do it. And obviously, there's going to be situations where you have a family bubble or friend bubble where people up to groups of 4. But if you're like on your own, antisocial like myself, you'll go on the one. But it's one of those things where, see, first and foremost, it's premium owners, the season ticket holders will get the priority. Then after that, it's going to go out to people and maybe cascade down to silver members and red members. But they're saying that it's between 25 and 30% capacity. So we're talking about between 9 and 15,000 fans.
60,000 capacity stadium at the Emirates.
Yeah,
it's quite a lot though. It's quite a lot of people even still. I saw for the Chelsea Brighton preseason game, they had some fans back as well. So they're obviously trying to introduce that.
I think what's happened is you've got to realise is that it's the lifeblood of a lot of football clubs, especially clubs that are not the starry clubs. Because if you notice nowadays, with furlough, whether you like it or not, the non-playing
fans are very important.
Yeah, but it's even the non-playing staff are going to lose their jobs, because if there's no football, no match days, there's no work for them. So you want to try and get us back in stadiums as quickly as possible in order to get the match day staff, some sort of like I said, work, because these people got mortgages, they got car loans and other childcare responsibilities.
Yeah. And obviously, clubs like obviously outside the top 6, clubs like Brighton, all those clubs, they rely on their match day revenue, for
definitely 100%
for the production of the clubs still.
Definitely. And you've got what people realise as well, in terms of football, there's a budget for all different things. Like if you look at your TV budget and your commercial budget, that goes towards actually maintenance, that goes towards player sales and player contracts.
Yeah, transfers and
so the other budget in terms of match day operational costs for the match day actually pays the the everyday sort of non-foot playing staff. So they're all sorts of different budgets. So when people do go up to you and say, well, Arsenal made plus and such money, why are they letting the non-playing staff lead the football club? It's because there's actually no work for these people, which is sad.
Yeah.
Well, speaking about
and I think
money in a club.
Go ahead, bro.
Speaking about money in a club and offloading a lot of wages, the first place I wanted us to start this week would be Mesut Ozil. So I'm sure we've seen that today is the 7-year anniversary of Mesut Ozil signing for Arsenal. And I know when he signed for us, I thought we were going to do an absolute madness. I thought we were going to, within that, especially once Sanchez came afterwards. But once Ozil came, we all thought that was like the big turning point at Arsenal. Now, obviously, since we've won a few FA Cups. We got into the Champions League the first few seasons. But I wanted to ask everyone, looking back over Ozil's time at Arsenal, can we look back and say that him coming to us has been a success, or for him to be a success, did we have to win the Premier League or Champions League in his time? Like, what was he brought in for? Or was he still successful at the club? So that's what I wanted to ask first.
I think just to mediate, Kenny, obviously, Barrow, you can see he's a very passionate Arsenal fan as well. But myself and Tash Chinga, we're United fans, you know, through and through. But just to let you know, just to let you know. But yeah, just your opinion on. I know, Kenny, you're very on the Arsenal situation, because we've watched a lot of your interviews on AFTV as well, regarding Ozil, and you know, especially the old school fans, as much they didn't understand Ozil's role within Wenger's reign when he brought him in, as Wenger obviously indulged him a lot, and rightly so, because he's a very talented footballer, but especially with as Arsenal weren't ready for that type of player at that time, because you know it costed you guys a little bit more of pace and work rate going back and forward, you know. But yeah, just your views on Ozil and the whole dynamic of it.
Well, I think the thing with Mesut Ozil is that you've got to realise that Mesut Ozil, his best years were at Werder Bremen, the Germany under-21s, when he played under Horst Rubesch, where they had that fantastic team with Khedira, they had Muller, they had Neuer,
Tony Kroos,
Tony Kroos. And what's happened? That was a prelude to their World Cup in South Africa, where these guys were getting there. Where in 2010, before that, 2010, some of those players played in the 2008 European Championship, lost to Spain. But previous to that, 2010, that's when they were first given the experience, got to semi-finals, came third in the tournament. And after that, kind of evolved. They got to semi-finals of the Euro 2012, and then they went on to win the World Cup. So in terms of that, Mesut Ozil was at Werder Bremen, went to Real Madrid, where, you know, his best football, for me, was during those times, from the time he was 19 up to the age of 23. Now, if you look at Mesut Ozil during that period, Mesut Ozil enjoys his football when he's playing with good players. So at Real Madrid, he's got the best of the best. Plus, he's got a manager who doesn't let him away with murder. And in Germany, because of you've got to realise with German football, previous to Mesut Ozil, Germany have always had this sort of a suspicion of flair players. Like, you've got players, if you look at German football throughout the years, they've always had functional players. Mateos, functional. You know what I mean?
Effective. Yeah.
Effective. You know, and they've had. Yeah, but but previously they had players like Hansi Muller, Gunter Netzer, Bert Schuster, Mario Basler. All those players have played the tournament for Germany, but they haven't had a team built around them, because they've always wanted to be that sort of functional team. Then what happened with Yogi Löw? He's got lucky now, because what's happened is that because Germany's now open up to their, you know, like their immigrant community, players from North Africa, from Turkey, from Africa. There's a different. They've had to re-image themselves from the way they play. So there is room for players like Mesut Ozil. Yeah. But if you look at what Joachim Löw done, is Joachim Löw played Mesut Ozil in positions that suited the opposition. So 1 minute Mesut Ozil played first, false number 9. Sometimes he played the number 10. Then he played on the right or the left. It depended on the opposition. But each time it was to get the best out of Ozil. And Ozil delivered because he had a team around him. But at Arsenal, he hasn't got that. And unfortunately for Arsenal, is that with Mesut Ozil, is that when you sign a player like Mesut Ozil, you want him to be the talisman. What Mesut Ozil been successful in doing is that Mesut Ozil has been successful in terms of commercially for the football club, in terms of the image rights.
But
100%. But in terms of football, he's been a disappointment because he hasn't delivered the league. He hasn't delivered like the Champions League success that we hoped he was. But there are extenuating circumstances. He's not suited to English football in terms of the pace and demands of it, and he's not suited to a team that is outside the big clubs. Like for instance, we're giving him Mesut Ozil pace. We're giving him a striker. Yeah. We're giving him a defensive midfielder, but it just hasn't worked out, Arsenal, because of the calibre of player. Another thing as well, what people need to realise is that since 2018, since he fell out of love with football, since the World Cup, he's fallen out of love with football because of what's happened with the criticism of him from the German national team. Because you've got to realise is that Mesut Ozil. Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
So Mesut Ozil was always getting himself up for international games with Germany. Now, when that's taken away, he's come to Arsenal, a team that is not the Champions League, finished sixth. A manager like Unai Emery doesn't understand him, doesn't understand the psychological pressure of him. So, really, truly, it was always the beginning and the end. And then you've got a situation is that if you're not in the Champions League for the last few years, does he become valued for money? Now, the board think he's not valued for money. And because he's not valued for money...
are gonna give him... he's going to go for free if he leaves as well.
Yeah, that's it.
And Tash, what's your view on the
you see with Ozil, right? I'd say Ozil's one of the most talented players at Arsenal. If you're to look at purely just as a footballer, what he brings to a side. Yeah. I mean, he's a mechanic with that left foot. You think about that season where he got 19 assists, which is just shy of the record. The problem with Ozil is we didn't quite see that consistent 18-plus assist a season. You know, you would hope Ozil to be the De Bruyne of Arsenal, but he just isn't really that player who's going to dig you out. Just like Kenny said, he sort of needs the quality around him, which is why he obviously prospered at the likes of Real Madrid because he had all the stars around him, whereas he's not the type of player who's going to sort of uplift the struggling team. But in terms of talent and the player that he is and what he brings to you, you can never question Mesut Ozil. One of the players with the most vision I've seen with my own eyes in the Premier League. However, I would say he was a failure. He did have his good moments like that season with the 19 assists. But I can't fault him as a player. Just it didn't really work out.
No, 100%. Yeah,
that Ozil could potentially have fallen victim. We saw James Rodriguez came out a while ago and said about the number 10 role in football has changed and it's almost pretty much gone. Like that number 10 role. Has Ozil maybe not? Obviously, I don't think he's covered himself in glory with maybe sometimes his responses to being taken off or maybe some of the performances or running that he puts in. But could he maybe have not been one of the players to have really fallen victim to the number 10 role diminishing? Because we now see someone like Coutinho as well, who's an unbelievable player. He's now struggling to find a place to fit in. We look at Eriksen at Inter. It hasn't really worked in. These are top quality players. And then we look around and we see the way Pep has somehow managed to get De Bruyne and David Silva, Bernardo, these guys are number 10s, but he's got them playing in a system. So that obviously shows that the players can adapt, but there are a mold of players that maybe can't. Has Ozil maybe fallen victim to those players that can't adapt, or is it just down to him not being able to cope with the league?
Well, it's a bit of both, really, because if you think about it in a logical sort of sense, Pep Guardiola is all about work rate. And if you can run,
100%.
If you can't run, ball. Then you don't. And it's without the ball as well. The thing with Pep Guardiola, if you look at these teams at Barcelona and look at teams like Bayern Munich, which is trying to change, it's all about the quick turnover. There's nothing wrong with you losing that ball.
The high press.
That's what I like to
but you have to win it back.
Stay close to the ball.
And another thing as well, he wants you to the situation where you have to be in the right position to receive the ball. So, because if you're in the right position to pursue the ball, we can start the attack. And that could be from the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
That's why he wants goalkeepers to kick. So, in that respect, if Ozil's going to play for these sort of teams, then he has to be in a situation where he has to be part of that first press. He has to win the ball regularly and be in those positions. You know what I mean? But another thing as well, he has to be...
I was just sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to ask, you see, with Arsene Wenger's type of football, that I think also one of the reasons bringing Ozil to Arsenal was, you know, the type of football that Ozil wanted to play. You know, the attacking, you know, fluid football. But with regards to as you said with the press, what surely that was Arsene Wenger's discretion with regards to the way Arsenal defended at the time, bringing in those with that type of player, because going forward, you lot were one of the best teams in the league, but defensively, you know. So what would you say?
You got to realise, right, is that what Arsene Wenger did is that Arsene Wenger's kind of changed Arsenal's way of play. He's gone from like the way we played under when we had Vieira, Petit and the back four, and we had Thierry Henry, Perez, to the extent that we were a total football team. We're like the Harlem Globetrotters. Then he went Barcelona with Cesc Fabregas, with Cesc Fabregas. You had players like Rosicky. You had players like all these like small gifted players and everything, which he understood. But then what's happened is that he's got rid of Barcelona by bringing players like Mesut Ozil and Alexis Sanchez in the team, who are both off players, identify a way of playing. So if you look at Arsenal, right, it's incomprehensible how we were playing. Even when we finished second when Leicester City won the league, you couldn't really identify our style of play. And, you know, we were really bad without the ball. And I think the problem we have with Mesut Ozil, that's kind of affected Mesut Ozil in a way, because there's no clear instructions. It's like Arsene Wenger says, you know, go out and play and go and express yourself. But what's happening now is that the opposition now have black. You know what I say? They have teacher coaches like Mourinho. I call Mourinho a kind of a whiteboard coach, where he has this. He analyses the opposition. He analyses their weaknesses, blah, blah, and then he stops them from playing. So is Mancini and all these other coaches.
Yeah.
Arsene Wenger's never been that kind of coach. He's a throwback to how Liverpool played in the 80s, where they were the best team in the country. We know that we impose ourselves on the opposition, we're going to win. And Arsene Wenger had that kind of style at Arsenal. So that, again, is probably not a help to Mesut Ozil, but what's happening, if we're always in the attack, then you will get the best out of Mesut Ozil, because we're dominating possession. But what we've done since we stopped with Barcelona, we haven't been dominating possession like what we were doing when we had Fabregas, Rosicky, Ashar, Nasri, you know, all those sort of small gifted players. But and that's the thing with Pepe now. If you look at Pepe now, when Arsenal dominate possession, Pepe plays well. But if Arsenal are not in possession, then every touch,
then he's so
every touch he gets
as well.
Because what's happened is that he feels he has to do something spectacular, or he has to give the ball back to the opposition because he's got three people around him. And that's the thing. If you don't dominate, Man City dominate possession. So because they dominate possession, you are going to see the best of De Bruyne. You're going to see the best out of Sterling. You're going to see the best out of the two Silver boys.
That's why I feel like Mahrez and Pepe are quite very similar as well, because Mahrez and Pepe have a similar sort of caliber as players, but with Mahrez, he's in a team where it fits his style of play. Obviously, as Kenny said, with the possession-based football that Pep Guardiola play. I mean, if Arteta's bringing that now with his new plans and whatnot, but especially with Pepe, if he starts playing in that sort of system, you get the best out of him. So
Tash,
that's the thing.
Yeah, sorry, Nick, go.
Sorry. Do you think that when we look at someone like Ozil, do you think that he's any bigger of a legend at Arsenal than Ramsey? Like, when we actually compare them over their careers, who do you think has actually had the better Arsenal career? Because depending on the way you look at it, like, it's quite a tough...
It's fairly similar. Ramsey, also another player who had the talent, I mean, we can't deny that he was definitely a good footballer. It's just, I feel like he was also injuries as well, and he was a product of not really the best Arsenal team at the time. You know what I mean? And I feel like quite a few players in recent Arsenal time have fallen under that bracket of they were good players, but they didn't really do much because they were a part of a struggling Arsenal team. But I definitely think it's fairly similar, to be honest. Ozil and Ramsey. I don't know what do you guys think as Arsenal fans?
I think Aaron Ramsey's. I think what's happened with Aaron Ramsey, sometimes you feel like killing that Ryan Shawcross for the injuries that injury he had.
Ryan Shawcross, right?
The problem is that when you get a bad injury like that, what's happening is that you become susceptible to other, Diaby as well. Saying, really
Diaby's
bad injuries. And I think, but if you look at Aaron Ramsey's career, when Aaron Ramsey, if you can get Aaron Ramsey fit, then he and consistently, and he can score those goals from midfield. And he's a very effective player because he's been injured. He has a stop and start is very high because a lot of Arsenal fans are used to seeing all those sort of players. So what's happened is that 10 forces every game, he divides opinion. But if you score winners in FA Cup finals, which basically saves the manager's job, you're going to get legendary status because you've won your contribution has led to us winning trophies. But Aaron Ramsey's always going to divide opinion because of the fact that we've never got a consistent run of games out of Aaron.
That's true as well. Mm.
Yeah. So now that I think we've weighed quite a lot on Arsenal. I don't want to stick too much because we could probably speak about Arsenal the whole night. But I wanted us to move on to Chelsea because they're another team now. I'm looking and I'm all right. They almost new breeds of number 10s. They've got Havertz, Ziyech. They are like number 10s. Obviously, they're probably a bit more versatile, but they are in that sort of mold of playing in the 10. But they'll make a good attack. I wanted to find out from you guys: do we think that Frank is potentially going a bit too crazy and his eyes are lighting up now that he can sign some big boy forwards and attacking players? And obviously he's got Thiago Silva, Chilwell, but is he maybe neglecting the defensive side a bit too much?
Well, listen, for me, with Lampard, obviously there's been the whole excuse for him last season that he had the transfer ban and he lost Hazard, so he wasn't able to spend any money and get the players that he wanted to suit his system and the way he wants to play. So I feel like now this is a huge season for Lampard because now he's got his personnel in and there's no complaints now. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 2 or 3 weeks they go sign a keeper as well because we know he doesn't fancy keeper.
That keeper from Rennes.
From Rennes, Mendy. But you see with Thiago Silva is a brilliant signing. Whether he plays that well or not, he will bring something to the dressing room that none of the other defensive players in the team have. He brings a sense of leadership, experience at the highest level. So I think that's a top signing. Chilwell, I'm a bit iffy with because obviously he's very good going forward, but defensively he's quite suspect.
50 mil.
Yeah, 50 mils are madness.
Say something.
No, I know. 50 mils are obviously way too much for Chilwell. I think
sorry to interrupt. Can I ask the Arsenal fans? How much was Gabriel? Then
27 million pounds of add-ons.
With add-ons, okay, cool.
That's great deal. Great deal, that.
Well, it's kind of value for money, but if you look at, like Ben Chilwell. Ben Chilwell is very much a long-term target for Chelsea. Yeah, if you look at that, if his last few months at Leicester, he was very unsettled because it was clear that he was angling for trying to force a move through to Chelsea. So that's one thing. And Chelsea have finally got their man. I think with Frank Lampard is that at the end they exceeded expectations. They exceeded expectations, but for me, they lacked experience in terms of like the big, 6-pointer games. Right, they got to the cup final, beat Man United, but in those sort of games, that's where he's gone for proven players.
But don't you think, Kenny? Don't you think, Kenny, the pressure that's being put on Lampard, especially now, with the signings that he's been making, like, if he doesn't obviously quote unquote win the league next season, what is he? Is there pressure? Is there?
I'm coming for Frank next season.
Yeah, but I think the thing with Chelsea is you've got to realise is that when your clubs, like, you've got to realise all the big clubs have different expectations. If you look at Arsenal, our expectations is just get in the top 4 and kind of build from there. In terms of Chelsea, second's nowhere. If you draw at Chelsea, it's like a funeral parlour there, because you have to win at Chelsea. It's not just so much Abramovich, but when Mourinho first went at the first time, he turned players like John Terry, Frankie Lampard into winners. And that DNA has gone through to Chelsea 16 years later, and that hasn't changed. Yeah. Frank Lampard, even though he's got the massive support of Chelsea fans as everything, he has to win. He has to find a way to win the title next year, because that's what Chelsea's about. He has to win the title. And let's face it, they spent the money to do that. They bought Werner. They're getting Havertz. They've got Chilwell. Obviously, they're going to look at
big money, Kenny. This is big money for a manager that's so experienced. Yeah, no experience for Lampard.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that players like Tammy Abraham, they started well, but he kind of faded because that's what inexperienced players do. Mason Mount as well. You can't rely on players like Mason Mount, Loftus-Cheek, and everything. They're not going to win your league. It's Doy as well. They're players that are going to come good in maybe a couple of years, but Frank Lampard ain't got a couple of years.
You've only got time.
Next season,
you only got a year.
Next season, he has to win. I'm hearing people from Chelsea saying, top 3 next season. Let's, if we finish road. I'm not hearing it. Chelsea next season. I think so. They have to challenge, because this season
they have to.
They have to.
There's no excuse.
He has a young squad. He has this. He has that. Now, listen, he might do well. I'm just saying that with these players, there's absolutely no excuse. But my problem with all of these attackers, the two things. The first thing, I think the balance. I'm not too sure how that balance is going to work, because obviously...
I think what's happening, right, is that the midfield is a bit of worry. I can't believe for the life of me they're considering letting Kante go. I mean,
they can't let him go. So
I don't know why Frank doesn't like him at all, and I don't know why.
Because he loves the stiffness. He loves the stiffness of Jorginho. I don't know why, bro.
I saw Inter Milan in for N'Golo Kante as well.
They ruled it out.
Yeah, they did.
I think if you look at Chelsea, they improved towards the end of the season in their midfield, because although they had some shockers against Sheffield United and Liverpool, but I think what's happened is that Kovacic gives them sort of like a bit of steel.
Dynamism within the midfield,
yeah. And like Jorginho, what he does is that he keeps possession really well, so he keeps it ticking over. He doesn't give the ball away, and that's one of the things Chelsea have had problems with, is that in the big games they haven't been able to control possession. That's why they've been found wanted. That's true. But on their day, they can beat anyone. But you've got to realise this: Frank's bought himself time because he's in the top 4 and he's in the Champions League, and that buys Chelsea manager any time, especially an experienced Frank. Because remember, they had the transfer embargo. But Frank's first season actually starts next season. That's the real what Abramovich is going to be expecting. And as you well know, if it doesn't go well, he's out.
It could even by December. If he does badly by December, you could be out even. That's just the mentality of Chelsea.
The two things are with Lampard is I feel like the attack. I feel like the players might actually not gel together that well, because when you buy so many new players all together, like they're all coming from all over, there's no real for a while. Pulisic just came in this season, and I feel like when you throw all the players in together, it lacks like them being cohesive. But the second thing is him finishing in the top 4 could actually be a negative for him, because now that he finished in the top 4 in his first season, the way we're going to judge Lampard and our expectations of Lampard is
expectations. That's the thing.
if everyone's saying he's that great of a manager because he did well with that squad, okay, fair. Now we judge him here. If he didn't finish top 4, we'd say, okay, average, we're going to judge him here. And then he would have less to, like he could have, there's more room for him.
More leeway.
I think the thing with Lampard, right, is that he has to, the reason why he's bought those players is because Liverpool are too strong at the moment. And Man City, you assume they're going to be strong. And you only have to look at the points gap between Liverpool and Man City, and then Liverpool and Man City in the rest of the league. And I think in terms of that, if you look at Liverpool, they still got to October to strengthen, but you'll assume that the only area that they need to strengthen is probably midfield in terms of creativity.
100%.
Yeah, but in terms of like Chelsea, you've got to realise is that they've got a strong Man United now. You know, Man United don't spend pennies; they spend big money. Man United outspend Man City now. That's just a fact, and they outspend Chelsea.
But Kenny, this past season, even if I don't know if you saw Gary Neville's opinion on the whole United's transfer business, it's been very disappointing, and we can't win the league.
It's early days though. Yeah, but it's early days. You've got to realise this. That a lot of football fans.
To be fair, we've never spent over 150 million in a single window. Chelsea have already exceeded without a keeper. In one window, we've never spent over 150.
But Chelsea. Remember, Chelsea have had 2 windows where they weren't allowed to spend.
Yeah,
remember rightly. But in terms of like Man United, in terms of Man United, is that the thing is that you're spending a lot of money. You're outspending City, but there's still something missing. But the thing about it is that you're still strong. But there's areas, you can tell there's areas where I think there's areas like, I'm not convinced about defence. In terms of like striker, you probably do need a 25 a go season striker. All right, it's nice that you're spreading it around, but I think teams are going to work you out.
I told you.
I think teams are going to work you out.
If Sancho comes in, I think Martial exceeds 20 goals. I think he brings that level of creativity to the team.
You do think so, but then again, he's got that nice little problem now, isn't he? Because remember, you've got Van der Beek, you've got Fernandes, plus you've got you've got your 4 strikers. So in terms of a squad, he's got enough players in order for the Champions League, not. But in terms of beating the best teams in Europe, Man United are 2 or 3 players.
No, we way too far off, and that's why I say. That's why I say, even if we were to spend 150 million this window, I don't think we're good enough to win the league. We just that far off. Because you haven't got.
Because 150 million can only get you 2 players in this market.
Even if United spent a billion and they replace their whole team with the best team, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, United are doing nothing. I'm telling you now. I
hear you, Barrow. I hear you, bro. Like, I hear you, bro. But the thing is, if as a United fan, we can already see now the whole outlook of what the board is trying to do with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They have full trust in him. It's a fact now. Because beginning of last season, I thought he was gone, innit? I thought he was out the door.
After we lost to Burnley at Old Trafford.
I thought he was out the door. I thought Mick Phelan was going to take the reins till the end of the season. We were going to assess what's going to happen, and then we'll get Pochettino or whatever. But it looks like, the board have full trust in what Ollie's trying to do, as well as, transfers.
But that's the exception, isn't it? I think what's happening is you've got to realise is that Woodward, he's one of those managers, right? Those CEOs who he says he ain't going to spend the money, but at the last minute, when the pressure's on, he spends it anyway. For
example, Igalo.
Yeah, you can argue that you probably spent 10 million too much for Maguire.
More than that.
Went to bed.
Yeah.
Put a bid in. You've gone for Maguire because he is the best defender. Yeah. But you're not seeing it now because any defender that goes to a club like Man United, the second season is when you see the best of them. The only defender I've seen that's gone to Man United and looked $1 million for about 2 months in was Jaap Stam.
Yeah, he was. But that's Fergie, Kenny. That's Fergie. Yeah. That's the top of the top creme de la creme of managers.
I hear you say, but you remember Vidic and Evra, struggled at first with Greg, and then the second season, which in their remember they came to Man United in January 2006.
Yeah.
And then what was happening is that Man United was building a side around, Rooney, Ronaldo, and Carrick.
Yeah.
You became strong again, and you got your defence, and then you start competing.
Yeah.
That's not always the case.
Yeah. Kenny, I want you to quickly go back to Arsenal. That you were just speaking about some fullbacks, and we see Bellerin, Ainsley, and Lacazette. So Ainsley looks like he's going to be staying. There's links with Bellerin away and Lacazette away. Mind losing them, and if we had to lose Bellerin or Lacazette, obviously that would be us investing in the midfield. We see the targets. Would we need to replace them, or are you fine with losing those guys?
I think the thing with Bellerin is that Bellerin is open to a move. He's wanted to leave for a while. He has ambitions to play in the Euros for Spain next year. People seem to think that, he loves Arsenal. He does love the football club, but his career comes first. He's 25 now. And he's going to be, if he goes to PSG, there's an opportunity for him to win leagues, to play with better players and probably play with better coaches. There's an opportunity that if he is winning leagues and playing with better players, he gets that right back position for Spain. That is his goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's open to move. Another thing as well, Arsenal fans say, I want Mustafi out. I want this player out.
You can't afford to lose any more.
You've got to realise that, but if you look at it right now, Abue and Almunia, we had to pay them off to leave because no clubs were going to cover their wages.
Yeah. So
if you talk about someone like Mustafi who's injured at the moment, but you say you want him out because he's not the player you need. There's other players. Some clubs might. But some clubs may say, well, we can't afford the wages for players like Rob Holding. We're looking to get rid of him, but that's only on loan. So you've got to go. We looked at Ainsley Maitland-Niles. He's become a fan favourite. His support. Mikel Arteta decided he needs him, so he's going. So that problem you're going to have, where you still need to get to balance the books, isn't going away. Hector Bellerin's the next one of the sort of conveyor belt of players we need to look at. Lacazette itself, again, he's another one who's looking at his career and think, well, I need to play for France next season.
Well, he looks like he's out of favour with Deschamps as well. Yeah,
he's out of favour because of the way France play. Because what's happened is that Olivier Giroud is made So Olivier Giroud, what he does is his work rate is so great in terms of holding the ball out and laying it off. It allows Griezmann and Mbappe to run off him.
That's literally why Giroud was so important to them winning the World Cup, because he brings a sense of balance.
See, Lacazette actually does that for Arsenal, but Giroud does it better for France. Yeah. So really and truly, Lacazette needs to be going to a club where he needs to up his goal rate as well. If he's not scoring 15 or 20 goals a season, then he can't knock on the French. In terms of Lacazette as well, he's had injuries as well. He came to Arsenal with a knee injury. He has his best season was probably in the season when we finished 5th and we got to Europa League final, but consistently he hasn't been able to do this. But the reason why, because he's doing 3 or 4 people's jobs. He's holding the ball up to allow Aubameyang to score those goals from the wing, because Aubameyang can't play at centre forward, and because of that, he allows Pepe to make runs in the box. So he does a lot of unseen work to the detriment of his own game in terms of what's
confirmed. It's confirmed.
Yeah, confirmed.
Yeah, at least one.
What's confirmed?
Van de Beek United's confirmed.
Yeah,
Van de Beek confirmed.
So that's a very interesting signing. If we change the subject a little bit, because you've got Fernandes, you've got a creative midfielder. Is he going to play if Fernandes is injured, or is Fernandes going to play in part of the front three?
Nah, he's coming in as a depth signing. I know it wasn't really what we needed at first, but I think this window is important that we strengthen our midfield in quality. Because, there were times in the season where you saw it after lockdown when Bruno Fernandes was getting run through the ground and there's no one to bring on. Because you bring on Lingard, it's a direct drop in quality. You bring on Pereira. So,
just say that again.
Matt's obviously old and aging.
Food!
So, I feel like
Yeah,
with the stack of fixtures coming up and now us being in the Champions League, Van der Beek has experience in the Champions League. He scored against Chelsea, he scored against Juve, he scored against Madrid. So he knows what it's like to
Everyone
play
scores
Van der
against
Beek.
Chelsea.
So,
Everyone scores
100%.
against Chelsea.
Yeah. But
So I'm happy about it. I'm happy about it.
The most important thing as well is that, you know, teams because of the way Man United played, you know, with the front three and Fernandes and getting the ball out on the counter attack. And when you have your front three, you're a bit of a counter attacking side. Now you're going to have a situation where teams are going to come to Old Trafford and they're going to put men behind the ball and they're going to say, "Come and get past us." Remember Southampton? They took
Burnley as well.
isn't it? Burnley as well.
That's the problem we had with West Ham.
West Ham, because what they've done is that they cut off the supply to your front three to the extent that Mason Greenwood might as well not be playing there. So what's that?
See, that's what I'm saying. That's why the signing of Sancho is so important.
Yeah.
Because he brings that extra. Like he has, what 17 this season. His specialty is breaking defenses, which is why I say that I think if Sancho comes in, Martial's goals increase just by that extra bit of creativity.
Sancho's goals, bro. Sancho's gonna steal Tony's goals, bro.
Yeah, I know. I think the thing you've got to look at as well is breaking teams down. What Burnley and Southampton did at Old Trafford is they had the extra man in midfield because they cut off the supply. And Seville, not only were you knackered in that Europa League game, they had an extra man in midfield. So even when you try to get back in the game, there was no way through because they had that spare man. And then you tried to get as many strikers as you want. But from when Seville got that second, from when De Jong got the goal, that game over. Game over. You weren't getting in because they had that extra man to basically, if they needed to hold.
That was the Southampton game in a nutshell. They cut our supply. Like you saw, Shea Adams and Ings were compact at strikers, so they cut the supply into Pogba. We couldn't even get our attack going. And a goal actually came from them pressing Pogba and him making a mistake. So for me, that's going to be United's biggest thing this season.
But next season, that's what they're going to do to Pogba. Even though Fernandes is going to be like the one who's always want the ball, Pogba's the one who drives. So they're saying cut off the supply, cut off Pogba. Then what happens to Fernandes? So what happens is Fernandes has got to go back in the midfield to get the ball and then do two people's jobs, and that's what Seville and Southampton did really well. West Ham.
See, that comes down to coaching. It's up to Oli to say, how do I counteract this? Do I bring my fullbacks in more? Do I, you know what I'm saying? So that's Nick, go.
You see how earlier we were saying how in the United v Sevilla game, United they couldn't break through that midfield. Now we could see that was happening. This is what I'm saying about Oli. You're the manager of Manchester United. It's either he sees it and he's not doing anything about it, or he didn't see it. Now that's a big concern. But the second thing is in that United midfield with Bruno, Pogba, and whoever is the DM, I still think that the midfield isn't properly balanced. For me, that balance is still a bit.
But I feel like as well, Barrow,
a bit deeper. He's being sacrificed.
Yeah, I feel like as well, Barrow.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, I feel like on your point, Barrow. Sorry to interrupt you. Is that when Bruno Fernandes first came into United, Oli wanted to see. To be fair on Oli, he wanted to see whether Bruno could do the 10 or he could play as a deep lying midfielder because he has that in his locker to spread the. He can hit a 60-yard ball, but with our squad, we don't have we tried relying on Fred to do the dogged midfield job, but Fred obviously sometimes a reliability in terms of he gives away a stupid free kick or penalty, or you know what I'm saying. So that's why with Donny van der Beek coming in now, he can do that type of job. You know what I'm saying. So then Bruno Fernandes has that comfortability to go forward as well.
And then Barrow, just on your 2 points, the first thing about Oli is, don't worry, I agree with you. However, what I will say with Oli is we know he's not the best tactician. I'm sure he knows himself. The whole league knows it. He's not a tactical manager. He's more of a feel-good man manager. And I think that's what United needed for a certain period, just to get our identity back. Because we sort of fell off. We started losing the identity of Man United. After Fergie left, the Moyes thing didn't work out. We tried Van Gaal, the tactical mastermind, and he wasn't back up. We tried Jose, and we started falling off our identity. So we just needed someone to come in who's a coach and just reinstill that Manchester United mentality, that culture, which I think only. And then,
but what happens after that, though? What happens afterwards? But if Ole goes, are you preparing it for the next man?
Yeah.
Is that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer going to be like being succeeded by someone who could take you that far? Because I think what's happening with Man United is that you're suffering because of your chopping and changing. And I think that's the thing that Arsenal's going to suffer. Teams like Man United, the thing with Arsenal and Man United is that they don't know what the other side is. We've only you've had Fergie for 26 years. We've had Wenger for 22 years.
Very similar.
And what's happened, right?
Very similar.
The mechanics of how football can run. For instance, agents, directors of football. We never had that at Arsenal. So we're now learning about that. In terms of Man United, in Man United, what you lacked was kind of continuity. Because what's happened is that the biggest mistake you did is that, and I say this with the greatest respect to Sir Alex Ferguson, he should have been nowhere near their decision to make to get his successor in. That should have been a decision out of his hands. Because what's happened is you've got David Moyes, you gave him a 7-year contract, and you panicked because you didn't get in the top 4 because you finished 7th. So you got sacked. So you've now got a situation where Van Gaal wasn't a good fit. What you should have done is that you should have not rushed the appointment. You had all summer to get the right man in, but you rushed it. And said,
I think that's why
we're giving it to David Moyes.
I think that's why now Oli, especially with Gary Neville, even said that's why it's better. In the past as well, we've overspent, like with Falcao, Di Maria. We've given these managers, even with Jose Mourinho, as much as I love him, we've given him. We were too under pressure in terms of giving the managers money, and with now Oli, we've learned that okay, we need to relax. If the deal is not fresh, if it's not there, don't make the deal happen. That's when you're going to suffer.
That is the sole reason why Sancho is taking so long. That exact reason.
What is Sancho going to give? What is Sancho going to give Man United? Because it seems like you really want him. Obviously, he was at Man City.
Okay.
What is he?
Let me tell you from a tactical standpoint, we lack creativity from the right. Wan-Bissaka can't attack. He doesn't give us anything going forward. Although he got I see a stat, he got more assists than Chilwell or something, but we know he's better going forward.
We know he's not. Yeah.
So, and
but that's
with Dan James,
though, isn't it?
Sorry?
That's due to Wan-Bissaka's because he's so pacey. I think what's happening, right, is that remember Wan-Bissaka, right, his technique needs to be a bit more sharper. Because he's got all the ability. He's got the ability of being England's right back for years.
Yeah, I feel like he's got in his locker still.
Yeah, but Trent Alexander-Arnold has technique.
Wow.
Plus, what's happened is that he's a modern right back because what's the right backs, and Walker's kind of like that as well. Although Walker's going to get fashion. The right back of tomorrow is someone who is a creator, more goal moment, which means they don't just put the crosses in. They're the third attacker, so they'll go in. Get in the box and create chances. If you look at Spurs, they signed Doherty from Wolves. You look at Doherty. From Wolves.
Arsenal fan.
You look at Doherty. I know, Arsenal fan.
Yeah, he's Arsenal fan as well.
But if you look at Doherty, what Doherty does is that Doherty not only does he defend well and put the crosses in, he gets in the box and scores. So he's more goal moment. So the modern right back has
not
to do
going
that.
forward with Jose.
For second, this gets in.
Nah, he does. He will.
No, under Jose, Jose is not going to let him cross the halfway line. Let me tell you now.
Yeah, but the problem, that's what he's bought him for, though. But that's what he's bought him for, isn't it?
Yeah, he's bought him to do the job.
Because simple reason is that I know how Jose is, but Jose's not a fool. He knows that the modern way is his style of play, what he played at Chelsea and what he did when he tried to go back. It's finished now. It's all about going back to basics. And you know the biggest mission in football, right? People talk about Klopp and the Gegenpress, right? Let me tell you something, guys. Now it's a myth. He never invented that. When you see all these, when you see all these tactics, right, and variations, all they're doing is regurgitating that from previous years. You know where the Gegenpress started? Liverpool in the 80s.
Graham Souness.
Ian Rush.
Yeah.
Dag Lees. So what they did is that Liverpool, when they didn't have the ball, they were like a Christmas tree. You had the defenders, the midfielders, and Ian Rush had a lot of pace. So what he did is he was the first defender. And then
John Barnes as well.
The midfielder, was the second defender. So when Liverpool didn't have the ball, that's how they played. Now, 30 years later, people saying Klopp's brought the gegenpress in. No, he's only doing what everyone else. The real innovators of football are people like Rinus Michels, Total Football, Catenaccio, Helena Herrera, and then, the sweeper system. They're the ones that invented the new football.
And you lot need to know the Jose Mourinho before Jose Mourinho was Brian Clough.
Exactly.
That is the gaffer that made Roy Keane.
Yeah. So basically, what all they're doing is going back to basics, because football evolves. Like, for instance, if someone's successful, you're going to get a manager who's going to try and stop that success. Barcelona had the pass more than the club sort of football. Like Panache. Teams, because Barcelona were too successful, when it stopped. You look at Spain. From 2008 to 2012, Spain were the best team in the world. Because they played like Barcelona. But what did teams do? They stopped Spain from playing. What they did is that they got in space faces, they got physical, and what they did is on a turnover, they hit the ball long. Holland, do you remember the game against Holland in the World Cup? Where on the turnover, with Van Gaal, he started playing diagonal balls, long balls. He played wingers. He played... and so what's happened is that he stretched Spain, hit the ball diagonally long. Spain couldn't cope, and that's how teams found Spain out.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think with are we just gonna wrap it up?
So we're gonna wrap it up now. But the last thing we're gonna, because I've already listened to you, Man United Fickers, about your opinion on this and how you suck up to him. So I just want to hear the last things, Kenny's thoughts on the Spurs documentary.
Well, I haven't watched it. Because I think what's happened is that I think Arsenal fans are not allowed to watch it because it's a Spurs thing. But I think it's something I'm going to watch. It's something I'm going to... Look, you can't avoid it. If everyone's talking about it, they're going to watch it. If someone told you that there was a punch-up outside your house and it's all on video, you can go
I think it shows especially... I think it shows as well. Sorry, I think it shows. I don't know if you've watched an episode. Daniel Levy's very hands-on with the team. Like, he's very the chairman is very unlike, for example, United's owners and Arsenal's. Daniel Levy is very he's in the changing room.
Levy's a lot more.
He's a Tottenham fan. Yeah. Daniel Levy loves the club.
Way more involved than I expected.
If you in the long term for them, like a positive.
But I think with Daniel Levy, as much as we hate Spurs, if you cut Daniel Levy, he's blue and white.
Yeah, he's a Tottenham fan.
He's a blood.
Yeah, but I think we'll just have to see how the Premier League season is going to go, as well as just the whole dynamic as well.
What he says about Mourinho, this is Mourinho needs for his morale. He needs this job to work out for him at Tottenham.
He does.
Whatever success Tottenham has, he has to win a trophy with Tottenham.
Doesn't matter. A trophy. A
trophy. He has to win a trophy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think, we're just gonna wrap it up there. Kenny, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Okay.
And,
appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's a real privilege. And guys, please share, comment, subscribe, and go follow Kenny, man.
This is mine.
Thank you so much, Kenny.
We'll speak soon, right?
Thanks, Kenny.
All my friends in Africa, in South Africa.
In South Africa, I will. Thank you so much, Kenny. Thank you so much for joining us.
Look after yourself. Bye. Bye.
Cheers.